Hello, my name is Terrence Mitchell. I am a government student. I'm turning this video in for my whatever project that they do on the 25th.
Hello, my name is Shamar Mays, and I am the guest in the video.
And the third person is Ms. Lowe. She's a teacher, but she's currently busy with another student, but will be in the video shortly. The movie I watched was the 13th. Shamar also watched the movie. Watched the movie last night, and so did Ms. Lowe. I told her about the project. We wrote down a lot of key notes and key moments that happened in the video. We got about 3 pages worth and are ready to discuss what we learned. So Shamar, how do you feel like the movie displayed black people? Like, do you feel like they were discriminated and were put in a bad situation overall, or like?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So about the movie, I do feel that black people, they were discriminated against throughout the movie, and the events that took place, they were just, I don't know, it was just some of my heart that didn't like it.
Yes, I agree. One of the key points I put down my notes with the Emmett Till deal. They really messed him up a lot. Like, when I was in class, one thing I did learn about Emmett Till, but he got tortured for multiple days before he died, and how his uncle actually found his body inside the prison. I feel like that just really messed me up. I mean, not in the prison, inside the jail. I mean, not inside the jail,
Barn
but
house.
Yeah, barn house. It was locked up, and that just really just imagine what he been through, and then how his mom had open casket funeral, so everybody can understand what her son had been through. And I just feel like that is a very open-minded thing for the world to see. What else? One thing I did learn about the video is the war on drugs. The drugs that were put inside the black community, they really just put the black people in a bad situation. Like, they put crack and cocaine, and now it's a law that if you have possession of the cocaine or crack, you can get mandatory jail time without parole or with parole. And I feel like that just a law that Ronald Reagan had made for the war on drugs, and that just really mess up a lot of black families. Shamar, do you know any type of drugs? What are the type of drug they had in the show?
The main one was being crack and cocaine, but marijuana, that was also a big drug being displayed.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, even though it's legalized in some states now, most states it isn't. But back then, you would get a lot of jail time for being in possession of marijuana. So it was very important not to stray away from that and not to get caught with it if you had it.
That is true. One thing that actually blew my mind was you can actually take the drug, but you just can't be in possession of it. And there was an example in the movie where
all students that are
hold on.
field trip today with Ms. Johnson, please come down to the front foyer. All the students who are going on the field trip today with Ms. Johnson, please come down to the front foyer.
Okay, so like I was saying, one thing that surprised me was how there was this lady. She only had a small gram of cocaine, but she went to prison for life because it was a mandatory sentence for her for the new law that was passed to pretty much the 3 strikes you out. I think George Bush, he the one that passed that law. And I feel like that just really messed up a lot of people in their communities. Shamar, do you know anything about the prison rate? How it grew over the years in the 1980s, 1990s to 2000?
Yeah, so about the prison rate. So in America, black people make up 13% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And and our people, they was getting incarcerated at a higher rate. So I believe it was 1 in every 3 black men went to jail. So that's about 33%. So, and discrimination played a big part in that too. But so one, two, if there was another black person here, like one of us would be more likely to go to jail and be incarcerated. And the time being served would be unfair. So,
I agree. Do you have any experience with racism yourself?
yeah, I have fairly a lot of racism experience for myself. Yeah, so like, when I go out of town and stuff, tourists, you don't really see a lot of people my kind. So like one time I was at a water park and I wasn't able to get on a water slide, even though I waited in line just like it was like high up in the air. So I wasn't able to get on a water slide. And the lifeguard, he was a white elderly man, just letting the other kids go in front of me. So I was like, at this point, why am I even up here? And it was about like a good 50 feet in the air. So the stairs was a long walk. Instead of just like sliding down the tunnel.
What's in Mississippi?
No, I was in Mississippi. It was in which one? I think it was in Ohio.
That makes sense. I have a fairly recent experience myself. I went to Six Flags one day. Me and my dad, we found this roller coaster, and there was a white guy. He looked us in the eye. He said, "It's true that black people are scared of heights." And me and my dad just looked at him to like, "What?" And then he was like, we didn't know what to say, and we were just stunned. So yeah.
Also, I've dealt with stereotypes like being called a monkey, men saying I eat water, fried chicken, fried chicken and watermelon, like daily, it's funny right now, but like what other people say, it do kind of hurt. It's like it's a funny joke among our people.
Yeah, like one of the worst things they call me was a Vine speaker. And that just really messed me up. Changed my whole look of life.
Yeah, and the Kool-Aid stuff too.
Like, the Kool-Aid stuff be crazy.
Like they say, you drink grape Kool-Aid with it too.
Grape Kool-Aid is good though. Hang on. But then get back on topic. So how do you feel after watching the 13th? How it discredit our people?
After watching the 13th, it did enlighten me on the serious topics going on in America. And just to be more aware of my surroundings, and to like learn how to say no. I don't gotta be around like bad situations, bad environments, because at the end of the day, like most of the stuff you put yourself in that situation to be around.
I agree.
Sometimes it is good to just stay at home.
One thing I also learned is the world's a very cruel place. One of the people that was a great leader of the Black Panthers was Angela Davis. She represented the black community with pride. I believe she went to court and she actually won against like the government. It was a high federal court case. Most people have like the hair palmed down and get ready to look real nice, but nah, she wore like an afro and she actually won and she represented the black community with pride. One thing, a very interesting fact with the Alex group, because inside the government class, we did learn about the library group, how even though you vote, they ain't gonna represent what you want to represent, they represent what the people are paying them. So a lobby is pretty much a political interest group that are paying the president or political leaders for that standpoint. And one of the group's names are the Alex group. They've been around for about 4 decades. And they have been representing the Republican group for and making new laws. One laws they made, they're very famous, was stand your ground law in Florida. Cause in the Florida law, they pretty much if you feel offended or threatened, you pretty much have the right to shoot somebody. And I feel like that's just not a good law. They should be passed around. That was only available in Florida. Shamar, do you have any stereotypes that black people had to go through?
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of stereotypes. Like, black people can't swim. Every black person on food stamps. Y'all eat fried chicken, watermelon, drink Kool-Aid. Scared of heights. Yeah.
So what president think you fought for the most for black people?
Which one you think is the most true or what?
Like which president gave us the most freedom? Well, not freedom, but the most opportunity to make us equals.
Oh, the president gave you the best opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say John F. Kennedy because he was for the community. He's like, I'll say he was like the first to like openly like accept us, like give us our freedom laws.
Mm-hmm.
And him doing that, it did lead to unfortunate death. Like, cause he was supporting civil rights activist groups, making commitments, laws for us that would help benefit us in our community, better living environment, working environment, such as education, work job. Yeah, so I'll say John F. Kennedy gave us the most opportunity as a culture.
I agree. The whole Kennedy family was very beloved family by America. It's unfortunate that he died here in Dallas, Texas, which where I filmed the video and where my government class is, where I grew up and where I live at. But at the same time, John F. Kennedy, he's a very good president. He was great friends with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. What do you know about Malcolm X?
I know that Malcolm X that his ways wasn't loved by like MLK because MLK was like he was a peaceful protest type of guy, like no violence. But
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X, he said use violence if necessary. I know that about him.
Yes, he was also a Black Panther activist too. He very supported that community. Do you know how the Black Panther started?
No, can you tell me?
Yes, the Black Panther started shortly in LA when pretty much black people had to stand up for themselves. Yeah, pretty much the different gangbangers and gangs we have in LA and around the world pretty much started from the Black Panthers. That's how so many people now got guns because back then you had to stand your ground, had to protect yourself because you never know when you're gonna die by the police or something racist is gonna happen to you. And the Black Panthers were the root of that. Even though like after that generation got put in jail, the guns and stuff they had left behind got left down to the kids, and the kids just grew up in a bad situation, and that just really affected how people see black people today. Um, what else? Oh yeah, the movie also talk about KKK and how they were like a terrorist group, and how the government had to put a stop to them after a couple of years because they were being too violent towards black people. Shamar, what else do you know about the KKK?
I know there was I know that there are cults and that like they were white. They were white like gowns, put a mask on. They burn crosses on people's lawns, and just like a cult that just meets just to like stand against black people. They're anti-black. They're against African Americans, black people, people of my skin color, and they don't promote peace for none. And they try to hide. They try to hide after like
Who they
their
are?
identities. Yeah, like that.
One thing that shocked me was most of the KKK, well, in a video shown, most of the KKK members were women, and that really surprised me because like women are just as evil as a man. What else? Oh yeah, the reason that we have so many police officers now because I think his name Nixon, the President Nixon, he had made a law where he put more police officers on the street to make the crime rate lower, but in reality that just made it higher. I just feel like that just really brought about the opposite effect of what he was trying to do, because by adding more police officers and SWAT teams at like every police station, the victims of police brutality are more likely to get killed or arrested, and that is not really not solving the problems. As a matter of fact, that caused more protests than what was originally brought up. One thing that I did learn about the video was parole pretty much help people get out of jail. One law that passed was by George Bush with a parole law where you would get out of prison just by having a parole. Who think stood out the most in this video?
In a film,
Yes.
obviously our people, but I think the presidents. I say the president stood out the most because I say the president stood out the most. Because the changes he had progressed through the years had helped affected our people for the good or bad, positive, negative, and how the incarceration rates could have declined or how they are now and still to this day.
Let me get Ms. Lowe input on this. Ms. Lowe is the third member in our group, but she is currently a teacher and advisor. I'm gonna let her introduce herself.
Terrence, did I video bomb you guys?
I'm doing a video.
Oh, you still doing it?
Yes.
Terrence, you want to go back and say hi?
I'm doing the video.
Are you doing the video?
Yes.
You ready for my part?
Yes. Can you introduce yourself?
Huh?
Can you introduce yourself?
Okay, should I introduce myself out there?
Yes.
Why didn't you just
You free?
pause the video?
I ain't finna edit it. Oh, you're right.
So,
I'll do it later.
they'll probably call you.
Morning.
We only have that one left. Sorry. It goes pretty quickly. So, is it just kind of like you're interviewing me
Yes. Like, can you tell me some interesting facts? Like,
about myself?
yes. Like, have you ever experienced my notes? Like, can you tell me about the immature death and what you know about it?
Yes. Do you want me to introduce myself first?
Yes. Can you introduce yourself? This is my third member in my video. This low.
Is it recording? Okay.
Yes.
Hi, I am Miss Lowe, and I am the college advisor at Gilliam Collegiate Academy. Okay.
And the movie we watched was the 13th.
Yes.
Do you know who the favorite president in the movie? Was it Roger Wilson, George Bush, Donald Trump, John F. Kennedy? Like, who was the favorite president?
My favorite president? I don't know if it's any of them that were included in the movie. I'd say personally my favorite president was Barack Obama. That was the first president I voted for.
Oh.
But I think one thing I've noticed is that our politicians have been very instrumental in imprisoning more black men. So I don't know if I could say any of them were my favorites, but I can say that I think that they were all a part of this plan to imprison more black men.
Well, do you know, like, the reason, like, they've had these certain laws because people, like, the big interest group, they pay them to make the laws. Like, do you know about the Florida law, the stand your ground law?
Tell me more about it.
Well, there's an interest group named Alice, and pretty much they pay the Senate or the people in power to pass down the laws. So they're speaking for them, but not really speaking for the people. And they get just making a lot of money that way, and they just pay you back.
Yeah, I think it's really sad and unfortunate that so much of politics isn't about, what's best for the people, but it's really just about money.
Yes.
It's really sad.
Yes, I feel like voting is not really a waste of time,
Guys.
I just feel like voting not really a waste of time, but it just feel like you're in a very small number with that millions or billions of people in America.
Right. I feel like sometimes, I think voting is important, but I definitely get that feeling like your vote not mattering.
Yes, it made me just feel like not smaller, but just open-minded about it. What else? Do you know anything about the Black Panthers and Malcolm X?
Yeah, I know some about it. I know that they had kind of a different philosophy than, what was it, the peaceful protests. They kind of were more militant.
Yeah.
But I can understand why, because
They had to protect themselves and stuff.
right, exactly. They had to protect themselves, and Black people have put up with a lot in our country.
Yes, that be I think it was 200 years for slavery, and that was only the 1980s. What else? Also, that's the reason why we got gang members now, because that was the gun got passed down to like the kids and stuff. So the Black Panthers were like kind of the origin or the roots of different gangs because they had to protect themselves. That's why people had different guns.
Oh,
like
I
that.
didn't know that.
Yes, I learned about that. That was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about what's her name? Angela Davis?
Which one was that? Can you remind me?
About the lady that went to court. She represented black people. She one of the Black Panthers.
Oh, okay.
And, she's still alive today. And, she pretty much just represented. And it was a big court. I forgot what's about, but she won and get like a very high power.
Okay.
Have you seen 12 Years a Slave? Cause that was one of the clips that was in the movie.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you
I
haven't
feel like I'm scared to watch it because it's so upsetting. I know I should because it's important to watch, but I feel like I've been scared to watch it because it's just gonna be so sad.
Yeah, I agree. Me and Miss Barry were talking about different movies that we want to watch that relate to the 13th. And she said, yeah, like stuff like the Immaterials, it kind of like brings her down. And how the videos like that or movies, documentaries, or just hurts her. 'Cause
Yeah, I feel like the thing I remember the most about this movie was, I forget his name, but the prisoner who he was in prison, like he was wrongly in prison, and then he got out of prison, but he ended up committing suicide.
who was that? I think that was
in 13th, right?
yes.
Okay. That was like, this movie was important, but it's just very heavy.
Who else? One law they did pass was death penalties, kind of like lower the sentences because like pretty much it was mandatory to take long sentences. Like you can go to jail for having cocaine, but it's legal to take like different drugs, like and just being in possession of it. Just
Yeah, and I think like it's like the whole war on drugs is very racialized because number one, you know, they're specific. The police are specifically going into black communities to find, you know, people who are selling drugs, but also the type of drugs are racialized too. You know, crack is more punished than cocaine. You know, stuff like that.
yes, and in the documentary, it made people feel less about themselves. What else? Do you know what this word say? Mass incarceration. Do you know what that means?
Is that just like that a large percentage of black men are incarcerated?
Yes. The majority of them in jail because in the documentary he said there was 5%. The United States makes 25% of the world's prison system, and 33% of them are black. I just find that surprising.
Yeah, that's insane.
So how did this film shape your understanding of the prison system?
I mean, I feel like I've always had some understanding that, you know, the prison system in the United States is racist, but I think this documentary really did a good job of illustrating why, and that it hasn't just happened, that there's been really purposeful political things that have been done on purpose, and that has made it so tilted toward more black men being imprisoned. And I think there just were a lot of really interesting parts. So yeah, I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like it was a very heavy documentary, but I feel like I learned a lot.
It was very heavy. Have you ever experienced some racism or seen some racism?
Well, I have not personally experienced racism because I'm white. but I feel like my students have. But I'm very privileged because I'm white, so I haven't experienced it myself. But I feel like working working at a school with mostly black and brown students, I think maybe know a little more about it than maybe the average white person.
So do you think that just like change the way how you view people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would hope in a positive way, and I think it's really important, like as a white person, to just be aware of your privilege and like do what you can to like dismantle the system. And I feel like for me, like the way I try and do that is like in my work at school and like helping students go to college. So
Yeah. Ms. Lowe is very important advisor. She helped me get into different colleges, helped me set up different pathways for me. One thing I learned about also the media play a very popular role on how we view black people. Because in documentaries, this says a person can watch this crazy black person do something, and that's how like the majority of America view them, and that create fear by the media creating fear and being broadcast worldwide, not worldwide but nationwide. That creates a lot of fear and anxiety. It just shows how crazy black people are. What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna agree with you and just say it's really unfortunate.
One of the prime examples they had in the video was Willie Horton. He was like the stereotypic black people are just killers and protesters and they don't have no right mind. And they created a lot of fear in them out in the 1850s.
Oh yeah. One thing I was thinking about is, I can't remember if this was in 13th. I think this was in something else I watched, but specifically how not necessarily African American men, but like African men, like black men from Africa.
Yes.
A lot of times, or the majority of representation that we see of them in media is like their country is at war and they're like criminals or they're like, I don't know if you consider them criminals, like just I feel like the majority of movies that you see about countries in Africa are all about like wars.
Yeah, like they are disorganized and stuff.
Yeah, and like it makes it seem like there's nothing else happening there besides war.
I agree.
I feel like that's another media representation.
One of my favorite movies of all time, me and my green like to watch this movie a lot. It's called Glory. Have you seen Glory?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's a movie with like Denzel and I was remember Morgan Freeman and how they like in the Civil War fighting for their freedom. And that was this it was based off a true story. How all these men they were black people that was on lower rank, but they did a very important mission with cost, which won them the war. And they finally got a respect when they did like pretty much a suicide mission. And all the white people at the end of the movie, they kind of like would cheer for them. But at the beginning of the movie, they were just talking bad about them and they gained their respect and they would die for their country.
Right. I think that's so crazy to me that people would go away to war and fight for their country and then come back and experience the same kind of discrimination they did before.
Yeah, that is like what you're fighting for. You're just going like changing.
Right.
Another good movie I saw was like most of the movies I see it's about black people fighting for power. Nowadays they're trying to represent black people as equals. Like except like back in the day they used to just work for white people, but now they are just equal standings, like they're businessmen and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think there's like more shows and movies about just like normal black life, like Insecure, Blackish, shows like that just kind of show like everyday black life and black joy, because like I think obviously black people have encountered so many struggles, but not every piece of media needs to be about black struggles.
Yeah, like I feel like you should tune in if you want to watch it, but it shouldn't be just forced into somebody's face. I just feel like that's just a very good way. But yeah, so we get a 13 movie a rating.
Like a grade.
Yeah, not great, but it just a overall review.
I really liked it. I would give it 5 stars because I think it's really interesting, and I think so. Like you learned a lot, and it really I think affected me emotionally, which I think is important. And I think it really held my attention too. Like sometimes documentaries are kind of boring. This one wasn't boring at all. Like it was really interesting.
I agree. When my friend watched the movie, I was surprised about how interesting it was because I kind of click into it. And I think I actually seen the movie a long time ago, but I can't remember for what class it was. But it just brought back a lot of memories and stuff I used to know. It just refreshed my brain on what I do know. But it was a very good documentary. That's all. Can you say yourself?
Thanks for having me, Terrence.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
I like discussing 13th with you.
Thank you. My name is Terrence, and thank you.